Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone. So, welcome back to class. So, as I've said, this second week is going to be for English. So, we would always alternate it that way. Then by December, we have time to unleash a dragon. We have time to work and get necessary information and necessary help. But for now, we keep doing a quick study. So today, not to make the work stressful, I actually sent a material for those on my page. Sent the material to you guys as a study guide. So we are going to be using that for English. It's gonna be for English. So let's start with today's class. So today we'll be talking about stress pattern, and the emphatic stress. So everything related to stress. So this part or this aspect of English is one of the most the simplest that you will always get in JAM. So as a student, you should always make good use of make good use of it. Let me just use it that way. Okay. So the first thing here is the stress in English. So what is stress? That will always be the first question. What is stress? So what's stress? Remember that whenever you talk, some words, alphabet, or some phrases comes out to be the loudest when you make a speech. Have you ever noticed that? So I'm sure you have. So now stress in English refers to the what? To the greater force or emphasis given to a particular syllable in a word or to a particular word in a sentence. Do you understand? So it's either given to a word or to a particular word in a sentence. So you would always encounter things like this all the time. Now in speech, a stressed syllable is louder, longer, and clearer than the others. So let's dive down to the examples now. The first thing we have here is table. Now, whichever way you pronounce, you will see or you will notice that there is a stress on the first syllable. Do we get that? There is a stress on the first syllable. Going on to the second example, which says begin, begin, begin. From the way I'm sounding, you can see there is more vibration, more force to the GIN compared to B, right? So that is what stress is all about. So whenever you have all of these, now these are the simple ones. Obviously, you can get something like this in a context, in a jam context, but it's part of it because it's part of the rules. Because you can also find it or find them rather in a sentence case. So let's look at stress patterns and their rules. Remember that they have rules. So once you follow the rules, you will always get it right. So let's consider the rules. So the first one is for two syllable word or two syllabic word. What does that mean? It means words that have just two syllables. Example, doctor, doctor. Do we get two syllabic or two syllable words? That means the words can be divided just into two parts. Do and to. DOCNTOR. So when you have two syllabic words, if it's a noun or an adjective, the stress is always on the first syllable. The stress is always on the first syllable when you have a noun. So give me more example of now. Father, mother, right? So it's always on the first syllable. But now let's come down to the second one. It says when we have a verb and preposition, it is always on the second syllable. When we have a verb or a preposition, it is always in the second syllable. So we have relax, decide. Do we get? And the rest of the and the rest of the answers. Reply. So you can see it falls on the second syllable. Why? Because it is a verb or a preposition. So now let's still continue. Let's consider words with prefixes. We know what prefixes are, right? So prefixes normally are not stressed. If you have two syllabic words and um you have just two syllabic words and one is a prefix, just know that the stress will be on the what? On the second syllable. Just have it at the back of your mind that prefixes are not stressed. Prefixes are not stressed. Then this next thing goes with words with suffixes. We know what suffixes are. Now, remember that for any pattern that you have, you will still have exceptionals. So you should always have that at the back of your mind. We have words that are exceptional, and definitely this is exceptional except for these or in this situation, if you understand. Okay, so words with suffixes now are often or unstressed, but sometimes they affect where the stress for. Do we get? Now I guess on this I will still need to give us more examples, especially on words with suffixes. So now considering four syllabic words, five syllabic words, so I will still give us more rules and at the same time more questions. Do we understand? Okay. Okay, now looking at some of the examples now of prefixes of suffixes rather, we have in, we have ic, we have sion, tion. So all of those are suffixes. Now but they affect what? Where the stress will be. So for ic, in, sion, the stress is always on the second to the last syllable. The stress is always on the second to the last syllable, just like education. So the ca is more stressed. Expansion, expansion. So the pan is more stressed. Now let's consider words ending in er, ese, and the rest. So as I'm giving you these words, you also give me more examples, so I would be sure that you are following. Okay, so we have engineer. So EER, so the stress is on the EER, right? We have employee, employee. We have Japanese. Same way we have manganese. So manganese, the ESE is more stressed. Do we get? So like I said, I'll give us more rules on the stress. So by the time we get any words, we are able to know where and where is stressed. So now let's move on to compound words. So compound words like two words coming together, like the two words can actually stand on their own as well. we call them compound word. So the first one is the blackboard. So the stress from the pronunciation, the stress is on the black. Another one here is newspaper. Newspaper. You can get it from the stress, right? From the pronunciation. Another one here is football. Football. Okay. So I guess looking at the stress itself is not something difficult to know. But by the time you move down to 5 syllabic words, 6 syllabic words, the stress pattern needs to be more considered, because it's more than just pronunciation. So once they are more considered, then it will be easy. It will be easy for any student to walk through emphatic or stress pattern without stress. Okay, so these are ways you can easily remember some of the stress easily. Now let's move down to the sentence case for stress. Now, but when it comes to sentence, remember that any word that is being stressed is always in capital letter, and from the options you will always have, there will be one of the option that doesn't have that word that was written in capital letter, so that will be your answer. So for instance, if I make this statement now, let's say for instance I say Ade is a boy. So the stress is on the boy, boy. Now from the options, now you have several options, but the best to be your answer is going to be most likely Ade is a girl. Do you understand? So any word that has been stressed in the question will not must not be in your answer. Do we understand? Must not be. So that means it will be the opposite. That is as simple as that, and that will fetch you your 1 mark, your 2 marks, your 3 marks, depending on how the question is. So in case you have 5 questions, or let's say 7 questions on stress, you've gotten your 7 marks already. And I always tell students, remember that JAMB is as simple as it should be. Yes, that's as simple as that. So you must always consider your strength subjects, your weak subjects, and if you have more than one strength subject, then that should be a plus for you. Do we understand? That should be a plus, a very big plus for you if you have more than one strength subject. So over this sentence stress, that shouldn't be a problem. So now let's start with this one. This first example here says, I saw. You can see the saw was in capital letter. Now most times you might see them in capital letters, or they are um the ink is more bold. So either of the two, capital letter or they are bold. So I saw the teacher at the market. So you have the teacher, you have the market, you have the saw. So all these three words are stressed. So if you are looking into your answer, you must not find any of them in the answer. Do we understand? Do we understand? Now let's just consider one or two things here. So John bought the book rather. This implies what? Not Peter, but John. Remember that the John was stressed, right? Capital letter. So if you be looking through your answer, what you should be looking at is a different name, not John. Do we understand? It's a different name, not John. Next one, John bought the book. So we are stressing the bought. So since the bought, it should be something else, right? So it can be lend, it can be borrow, it can be stole. Do you understand? But it mustn't be bought. The next one, John bought the book. So the book here is stress. So it can be pen, it can be football, any other thing aside from book to give you your answer. And all of this changes the meaning of what? Of the sentence. Do we understand? Okay. And let's quickly look at these examples before we call it a day. Now, Mary passed her exam, or passed the exam rather. The stress is on passed. PASSED. Now, for you to get a contradicting statement or an opposite of passed, that should be what? Fail. Right? But as long um as long as past is not in your supposed answer that you intend to choose, then you are correct. Do we understand? This thing is as simple as that. Like, you must always contradict the what? The the stressed word. That's just the idea. Now, I said she stole the book, the money rather. She can be he, right? Do we understand? She, instead of she now, you use he, and that will fetch you your mark. Going on to the third one, he said he bought a new car. So new, it can be old. So you must always contradict what we have. Another one says the teacher punished the boy for being late. So let's consider it one after the other. So it can be the principal or the security man instead of being a teacher. Then on the other hand, the boy, it can be a girl, right? So these are easy ways you can dictate or you can know if you are correct or not. Do we understand? Another one here. Tunde broke the window. Tunde, the name was stressed, so it can be any other name. It can be Nonso. It can be Gabriel. Gabriel broke the window. Or the window was broken by Samson. Do we understand? So it gives a different words meaning as long as what is being stressed is not repeated in your answer. Do we understand? So stress and stress pattern is as simple as that. So here are questions to just work with. Now this number 7 question, we have to write out 5 sentences where shifting stress changes the meaning. So this is just 4 sentences, right? So write different 5 of your own differently. Now you can see what we have here. Stole, the first one now, stole was stressed. The second one, money was stressed. The third one, he was stressed. The fourth one, I was stressed. So that is one thing we can always do. Do we understand? So that is all for stress. So I will still in our second continuation class is going to be on more of 3 syllabic, 4 syllabic, and 5 syllabic words. So thank you very much and have a great day ahead.